I did this thing's gonna end up killing himself with one of his weird pills one of these days. Oh, hey, didn't say that. You happen to have caught me trying to escape the ever-looming fucking reality that I'm gonna have to record more of this. Namely, Chinami-Route in Hoshizora no Memoria. I want to die. Anyways, that's gonna be the bloody intro, I guess. I'm dreading anything and everything that's happening, and hey, thank God I still have booze left from yesterday. Anyways. Hold on. Fucking keyboard was standing on the mouse cable. Anyway, shut the fuck up, Chinami. Chinami noisily bolted into the living room. A late morning tea. A late morning to you. Alright, guess I'll make some coffee. Well, sorry, but you got up later than me. Since 6. Something wrong with that? You little bitch! Thanks for fessing up to your crime at least. I automatically woke up at that time because my body's used to it. That alarm is just decoration. What? So you could have used sleeping pills instead? Look, don't try to make me sleep in because you because you want to get up earlier than me. There's no point if you yourself don't put in any real effort. Use effort to overturn that habit. That's a fucking problem. She's just proudly admitting that she refuses to think in life. I am 3 minutes in and I already feel like I'm gonna have to call anger management. Thank God I got some anger management to do tomorrow because we have a hut in our garden that we need to tear down. And I'm going to become a fucking hurricane on that little shit. I don't see any problem with that. Look, try and go to sleep 1 hour earlier than usual, for instance. That way you may be able to get up 1 hour earlier. Don't just stand there, sit down and eat your breakfast already. I replied with a lukewarm yes, sure. I'm sorry, I really mean it. Last night I messaged Okaizumi informing him about it, upon which he agreed to meet up at the Milky Way today. Seeing the totally broken state of the kaleidoscope music box, a faint smile showed on his face. He started to mumble while gazing up at the ceiling. Should I ever see the death omen star in his eyes, it might spell my end.
先輩、落ち着いてください。どうせ元から壊れてたんですから、プラマイゼロです。
いや、これはどう見てもマイナスによって。
知恵の輪をどうぞ。
Okizumi began to fiddle with the puzzle ring, his eyes bloodshot.
メアちゃんが間違って壊しちゃったんだよね。
Yeah, it was also partly my fault for not watching
部
it.
品、これで全部？
I had laid out the table. On the table, the tube disc at the base and a number of springs and screws. Everything you see on the table plus this here. I showed also the pendant.
オルゴールの飾り？
Also two first, but it came out from inside, so it might be something else entirely.
中って箱の中？
Yeah.
部品には見えないけどな。
Also held up the pendant, looking right through the gem.
やっぱり飾りだよね。箱の内装なんじゃない？
Yes, it'd be a possibility if the base, the music box, was one that was openable. Okizumi, is this music box the kind you can open? He was immersed in the puzzle ring like a wild beast feasting upon its prey.
そういえば、ようちゃん、ちなみちゃんは？
Prior arrangements with friends, apparently. She told me to apologize for her that she couldn't come to work. Personally, I felt like a load was off my shoulders.
予定があるならしょうがないね。バイトだって急に決まったことなんだし。それに、もともとここは好きな時間に働いて、好きな時間に休めるところだから。
I felt a little uneasy about whether this was actually good for the cafe, but I could hardly complain about it since it actually helped me out quite a lot.
二人とも休憩かい？ランチタイムは終わったし、なんなら遊びに出かけてもいいんだよ。
Saying that, Asu's dad brought us some iced tea. In the process, he caught sight of what used to be a kaleidoscope music box resting on the table.
カレードオルゴールだよ。お父さん知ってる？
知ってるけど、組み立て式は初めて見たな。
It's actually just simply broken apart.
お父さん、オルゴールを直せる店って知らない？
運河沿いにあるオルゴール堂くらいだろうね。あそこはカレイドオルゴールも扱っていたはずだ。随分と古そうだけど、直すのかい？
まあね、天文部の持ち物だったんだって。だから直そうって話になってたんだけど。
Hearing that, he almost dropped the tray with the drinks.
これ、天文部のオルゴールなのかい？
He placed the glasses of iced tea on the table before timidly asking us.
そうだよ。
I've heard it's supposedly something like the old astronomy club's symbol.
言われてみると、見覚えがあるような。
あ、お父さんって部長やってたんだよね。じゃあ知ってて当たり前か。
このオルゴールは、僕が卒業した後に作られたものだけど、いや、それよりなんでこんな無残な姿に。
I'm really sorry.
ようちゃんは悪くないよ。最初から壊れてたんだから。
最初から？
そうだよ。私たちテンクルに渡った時はもう音が鳴らなくなってたから。
I'm convinced that whatever played the music in this one is now playing the music in Chinami's music box. He was pondering something.
ひばり校には天文部の顧問だった先生がまだ勤めているだろう。彼には言ったのかい？
Apparently Okaizumi asked him to get it repaired, but he was told that there's no fixing it. He furrowed his
それ
brow.
はおかしな話だね。
なんで？
いや、
He made his words trail off evasively.
ようちゃん、どうする？オルゴール堂行ってみる？
I just really want him to like fucking spot his dad at a distance and be like, "Oh, you little shit, you come over here." Yeah, I'll talk it over with Okaizumi once he's back to
これ
normal.
返すね。
She hands me the pendant. The boss caught sight of it.
それは
It was inside the music box. We thought it might be an interior adornment.
それはないだろう。誰にも見えないところを飾り付けてもしょうがないしね。
箱開けたりできないの？
できるなんて話は聞いたことがないよ。
What's this pendant?
ちょっと見せてくれるかい？
handed it to him. He went on to inspect it by tapping, stroking it and such.
メテオライトかな。
Is that the name of the gem or
隕
something?
石のことだよ。アクセサリーなんかに使われることもあるんだけど。
レプリカかもしれないし、本物かは断定できないけどね。
Plated stone dimly reflected fluorescent light.
メテオライトって霊言新たかなんだよね。
霊能力や神通力を高めると言われて、大昔から崇められてきたという説もあるそうだ。麻薬あたりに聞くと詳しいんだけどね。
Did you ever hear about a meteorite being inside the astronomy club's music box?
初耳だったよ。
Which would mean it was hidden
お土
there.
産屋さんなんかに行くと売ってるよね。メテオライトのペンダントみたいな隕石アクセサリー。
隕石は貴重な鉱物なんだ。だからショップやオークションに出されるものは、言葉は悪いけど偽物も多いんだよ。
これも偽物の可能性が高いってこと？
判断が難しいということさ。僕も鑑定士じゃないからね。
From what you say, I'd imagine meteorites are quite pricey.
種類によるけど、安いものだと 1g400 円くらいだよ。
Market price of gold was 2,500 yen per gram, so compared to that, it was actually considerably cheap.
でも月の隕石って1グラム100万円以上したよね。
火星の隕石を丸々売って1億円稼いだ人もいるらしいよ。
Okay, we were way beyond gold price now.
メテオハンターなんて職業もあるくらいだ。世界で見ると隕石は年間2万個以上落ちていると言われているから。
その割に発見されるのは少ないんだよね。
国土の狭い日本なんかだとこれまでに50個程度しか発見されていないからね。
Meaning to give it back to me, the manager held out the pendant to me. For taking it, I asked, "Do you know how we might find out whether it's the real thing or
気に
not?"
なるのかい？
Well, I guess I'm more interested in knowing why it was inside the music
お
box.
父さんは知らないんだよね。
僕だけじゃなく OB は誰も知らないと思うよ。
This is the astronomy club's symbol, right?
ああ、いつの間にかそうなったという感じみたいだよ。ただこのペンダントとは関係なくね。
Presumably having seen through what I was getting at, he tacked on that last bit.
そもそもなんでシンボルなの？いつの間にかでも理由くらいはあるんじゃない？
This time he didn't
気に
reply.
なるのなら聞いてあげようか。
That's what he
隕
said.
石が本物かどうかオルゴールを直すついでにね。
お父さん直せるの？
もちろん僕じゃない。オルゴール堂よりもうってつけの相手が知り合いにいるから。僕も天文部のオルゴールがこんな姿になっているのは忍びないからね。
知り合いって誰なの？
ハスホも知っている人だと思うんだけどね。
Thereat he continued.
僕が天文部に入っていた頃の顧問。君らの言う元顧問さ。
As things turned out, we let Asu's dad hold on to the broken music box, together with the meteorite pendant.
マスターがそう言ったのかい？
はい、元顧問がオルゴールを直してくれるって。
By the time he was done with work, Okaizumi was also back to
お
form.
かしな話だね。僕はこれまで元顧問から治らないと聞いていたのに。
ようちゃん、そっちの方がおかしいってお父さん言ってたよね。
He did, yeah. Apparently the former advisor was the one who crafted the music box. Looks like Okaizumi didn't know that, as he made a very questioning expression.
本当かい？
お父さんが嘘ついてなければですけど。
本当だとすると、元顧問は業者に修理を頼んでいたんじゃなくて、自分で判断して僕に突き返していたということになるじゃないか。
That's what I think.
なりますよね。
制作者が治らないと言っているんだから、どうやっても治らないことになるじゃないか。
Depends on if the person who made it is a specialist or, hobbyist. That's what I think.
なりま。
きっとこれを機に、テンクルは廃部の運命を。
先輩、どうぞ。ようちゃん、お父さんに預けちゃってよかったの？
regarding Okaizumi, who immersed himself into fiddling with a puzzle ring, she asked me. Well, it seems like Okaizumi wasn't against it either. Besides, I'm
ペ
curious.
ンダントのこと？
Yeah, and also the fact that the former advisor returned it to Okaizumi without repairing it.
直さない？
Right.
直せないじゃなくて？
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it logically, it's pretty much impossible that he can't repair it, right?
どうして？
Music boxes are pretty simple from a design perspective. So simple that I know someone who crafted a self-made music box as their summer breaks research project back in elementary.
誰？
My dimwit sister.
ちなみちゃんなんだね。
She was struggling with it though, so I also helped her.
単純な作りって言わなかった？
Well, it was pretty hard for us back then, but my point being, even elementary schoolers can make one. So if the former advisor was a music box craftsman, it was hard to imagine he couldn't fix it at all.
好きな曲を鳴らせるなら私も作りたいな。
You want to pick your own tune, you'd have to make a paper music box. You put holes in a card, which basically serves as you score and insert it. Naturally, if you made a music box like the kind you see at stores, you wouldn't be able to pick the piece of music. That's because choosing your own piece would require modifying the music box's cylinder. The one Chinami and I made was a paper type one, so punching holes into a card in line with the score was quite cumbersome. A music box should still be resting on Chinami's sideboard.
でも天文部のオルゴールってカレードオルゴールだよ。作るのも直すのも難しそうじゃない？
Well, the kaleidoscope itself wasn't broken, just a music box.
そううまく構造って分かれてるのかな？
That's the reason why I'd like to confirm things once.
そっか。
Looked like I also got what I was talking
だから
about.
ようちゃんオルゴール堂に行きたいって言ったんだね。
Dragging along a grumbling Okaizumi, we made for the waterway. Lovely place here. We entered a retro-looking store and found a retro interior inside as well. It is actually quite a lovely-looking store. Like, I'd probably look around here for fucking ages. Do have a weird habit where I just like to see a store that looks interesting and just look around inside. I don't know why. Hell, that doesn't just go for regular stores. That recently happened with the goddamn butcher's shop. I just walked inside, looked around, looked at what they had, and just left again. I am, of course, always greeting and saying goodbye in a nice and cheerful way in hopes of that actually making up for the fact that they thought a customer came in and then he just fucking left again. On top of that, it was filled with a somewhat nostalgic atmosphere.
なんていうか心にジーンってくる感じ。
天体観測やプラネタリウムを眺めている時もそうだけど、ノスタルジックな気分にさせられるね。小笠坂君は初めてだよね。
Flashing lights. Okay. Yeah, I've never been out here, out around the waterway. There were only a few customers, plus the music playing was also calm, so our voices naturally became restrained.
ようちゃん、小学生の頃は？
Nope. I was the kind of kid that stayed in the house most of the time. It was if you take out of the equation that 1 month in early summer I spent playing with the local.
アスホ君はどうなんだい？
小さい頃に来たことありましたけど、カレードオルゴールが置いてあるのには気づきませんでした。
見た目だけじゃそうと知ってないとわからないだろうからね。
The goods in the store didn't have explanatory labels or anything of the sort. They were solely divided by their appearance. Ones that went with a clock, others that had a rotating puppet, and so on. that just, I don't know why this reminds me. Like, my grandmother has like a clock. Which is just like a man like leaning on like a street lantern that has a clock up top. Like typical like worker after hours, mildly drunk maybe. And instead of like it tolling the next hour, the man starts whistling. And as a child, I fucking hated that thing because it was very uncanny to me. I was basically in the living room, and whenever we visit my grandmother and it started whistling, I just dead ass got up and left the room.
手に取ってもいいって書いてあるね。
Also picked up one music box and winded up its key.
この曲知ってる。中学の合唱で歌ったよ。
Presumably to check the melodies, the other customers were also playing various music boxes. In addition to the music played by the store, nostalgic melodies kept resounding non-stop from various corners.
オルゴールにノスタルジーを感じるのは見た目もそうだけど曲の力も大きいね。
2階は自作のコーナーみたいだよ。
店の人に頼めばそこで好きなオルゴールを作ってもいいんだ。観光客にはいい思い出になるだろうね。
After that, we asked at the counter whether they also repair music boxes here. It was just simple repair; they could do it right on the spot. Otherwise, they'd mail it to a specialist. However, it was faster to just buy a new one if it was broken. It depended on the actual music box, but apparently they weren't very expensive, so that was a big factor in things. Maybe that was why the former advisor didn't repair it. Still, though, I just couldn't buy that being the case. After all, it was supposedly the astronomy club's symbol, something like that. People normally wouldn't think of as replaceable. In that case, you should be okay with the repair costs.
カレードオルゴールの修理はどうですか？
According to the clerk, the exact same held true for kaleidoscope music boxes. He also told us that if you, for example, had the money and were okay with replacing all parts, repairing it should definitely be within the realm of possibility. Though if the base's ornaments were a type that they didn't carry, there'd be no way of repairing it in case it was changed beyond recognition. Luckily for us, the base of the astronomy club's music box was fine. It just didn't play. Well, Mayor did make some springs come out, so on second thought, who knew?
ようちゃん、これからどうする？
Well, we now know that repairing it is possible, and that was basically all I came here for.
僕は今度元顧問に直接聞いてみるよ。
私、どの先生が元顧問なのか知らないんですけど。先輩の担任とか？
いや、元顧問の先生は3年の数学教師なんだ。科学や物理を教えることもできるみたいだけどね。
Will you ever find him at school? I mean, it's summer break.
先生はもう部活の顧問をしていないから毎日いるわけじゃないけどね。ただ3年は受験対策で、お盆が終わってからは希望者のみ補習を行ってるから、数学の授業があるときは来てるよ。
先輩は出てるんですね。
僕は塾に通ってないし、時間もあるからね。
修理のこと、何か分かったら教えてくださいね。
そうだね。明日にちょうど授業があるし、聞いておくよ。次にテンクルで天体観測をするときにでも教えるから。
When are we holding the next one?
先輩、受験の補習なんですよね。いつがいいですか？
金曜か土曜の夜だとありがたいかな。翌日が休みで補習がないから。
じゃあ、そういうことで学校から屋上の鍵借りておきますね。
You can go ahead and cover that. Just tell me once we've settled on a date and time.
小雨ちゃんたちにも言っておかなくちゃ。
Thereafter, the three of us went around the store and looked at the various music boxes. Unfortunately for us, we didn't find a music box that matched the one belonging to the astronomy club. I suppose the former advisor really must have made it by himself. Should we get it fixed? I'd really like to hear what kind of melody it plays. If it made me feel a wave of nostalgia, placing it in the club room as the astronomy circle symbol wouldn't sound like too bad an idea. Okay, Izumi's words when we were about to leave were revealing.
僕は昨日、元顧問にカレードオルゴールの修理の許可をもらいに行ったと言ったよね。あえなく反対されてしまったよ。その理由は教えてくれなかった。元顧問が僕らに何か隠しているのは確実だろうね。
As for what exactly that meant, I still don't know. I was trying to grab my gun, but I had something on top of it, namely this, which is just basically our insurance company has heard that I still hadn't found an apprenticeship or a job, so they sent me like this big old fucking thing of job offers, which very much appreciative of that. I'm gonna have to work through those. Oh well. Chinami noisily bolted into the living room.
今朝はもっともっと早起きできたよ兄ちゃん。約束通りちなみに朝食。
Late moaning.
なんかアメリカンになってる。
Guess I'll go make myself some nice cafe and we'll see.
ちょっと待ってよ。ちなみに今までで一番早く起きてきたのになんでもう食べ終わってるの？
Oh, sorry, but you got up later than me.
ちなみにお兄ちゃんの助言通りいつもより早く寝ていつもより早く起きたのにどういうこと？
When did you go to sleep?
2時間だよ。
And when did you get up?
2分だよ。
Then your solution is simple. Just go to sleep 20 hours early.
それぐるっと回って4時間遅く寝ることになるんだけど。
2 days ago, Chinami went to sleep 1 hour earlier and got up 1 minute earlier. Well, I hate to break it to you, but I don't think this approach is gonna work for you.
お兄ちゃんを信じたちなみがバカだったよ。
It is my fault. You're the one to blame for defying all laws of logic and common sense.
じゃあやっぱり見当違いの作戦指示したお兄ちゃんが全責任を負うべきだよ。
My deepest apologies, little sister.
クリクリしながら謝るよりちなみに朝食作らせることで責任取ってほしいよお兄ちゃん。
That's enough barking. Just sit down and eat your breakfast already.
次こそ絶対お兄ちゃんより早起きしてみせるからね。
I gave her a yeah, sure. It was fact, though, that while only little by little, she was getting up earlier by the day. I'd eventually have to see the day when she makes breakfast. So I reckon I should start working out a plan to avoid the catastrophe now.
ああ、そうそう。メテオライトのペンダントだけど。
After we went on break with lunchtime over, Rosso's dad brought that up while bringing us iced tea.
聞いてみたら本物だそうだよ。言い切れる理由とかペンダントとオルゴールの関係は話してくれなかったけど。
ちゃんと会ってきたんだ。
ひばり港で補修をしていると聞いてね。昨日出勤の途中に僕のところに寄ってもらったんだ。オルゴールの修理もしっかり頼んでおいたよ。
相手なんて言ってた？
Think you can do it?
僕も強く言っておいたからね。とりあえず預かって状態を見てみるそうだよ。
状態だったら何度も見てると思うんだけどな。
でも 彼も驚いてたよ。バラバラになってることに。
さらに壊れたんだもんね。
Sorry, I really can't apologize enough.
きっと大丈夫だよ。原型をとどめてないわけじゃないし。
何にしろ、あとは彼次第だろうね。
Any idea why he would be reluctant about repairing it?
彼はわざと修理をしていなかったのかい？
Yeah, we think it's a real possibility. He then sunk into thought.
忙しくて直す暇がないのかな。
そりゃないだろうね。今どこの部活の顧問もしてないし、何より昔と違って教師に専念できるからね。
That devoting himself to teaching alone part made me wonder what it meant.
さっきから何の話？
Chinami, who hadn't joined our conversation, gingerly questioned us.
テンクルにオルゴールが置いてあったんだけど、壊れてるから直そうって話だよ。オルゴールならちなみも持ってますよ。ようちゃんから聞いたよ。小学生の時にようちゃんと一緒に作ったんだよね。はい、ちなみ愛用サイドボード2号に飾ってあります。ひばりが崎にいる頃に作ったの？いえ、都会に引っ越した後です。そっか、夏休みの課題にオルゴール作るなんて都会の学校は違うね。
Okay, that kind of debunks my theory that the music box was made of the parts of the kaleidoscope. Alternatively, could have been that he was gonna be like, okay, Chinami he made like a promise with Chinami that when she makes it, he would put it in there, I guess. Who knows? And that's why he's reluctant about fixing it. It actually never had a music box in it to begin with. It was supposed to have one, but he, for some reason that we don't know, he had to separate from the family and never got that music box that they decided to make together, that they wanted to make together in time. Maybe something like that. I don't fucking know. It was an independent research project though, so the size of cities didn't matter in this instance. And as for why Chinami wanted to make a music box back then, I remember our mom had told me the reason.
よ、今日も勤労してるな。
Asuka showed up.
いらっしゃい。今日は制服なんだね。
学校寄ってたからな。そっちこそ仕事してないみたいだけど。
今は休憩中ですから。
Thanks for ending our break time.
じゃ、何か飲み物よろしく。
Asuka sat down and Nasu, along with her dad, returned to the counter after taking his order.
配膳係のちなみも行きます。ドリンクだけだし、ようちゃんと一緒にまだ休憩してていいよ。
Going along with Asu's words, the three of us sat around a table. You did some questioning at Hibari Hayai's, I'm assuming.
文化部はまだほとんど見ねえから運動部をメインにな。
何か成果ありましたか？
成果と言っていいか判断に迷うんだけどな。
Looks like I got a hold of some new information.
ゆうべ野球部が遅くまで部活やってたらしいんだ。
Those guys again.
今回は UFO の偽情報じゃねえよ。どっちかっていうと怪談だな。
お化けが出たんですか？
かもしれねえし、都市伝説の死神って線もあるぜ。
You sure it wasn't just Aoi again?
その線も捨てきれねえけど。
葵ちゃんって死神なの？
She got mistaken for one before. Oh, and just so you're clear, don't try to ask Aoi about it. Even if you want to know more.
葵ちゃんが嫌がるならやらないよ。 こう見えてちなみ成分は友達思いで占められてるからね。
ちなみちゃん、いい子だよな。
But don't take her with you at night because of that.
うんとは言えねえな。
なにまた肝試しするの？
Also brought over Oscar's drink and joined the conversation.
その予定だ。新しい情報が手に入ったからな。
So you came here to ask Chinami to go with
そ
you?
んなところだ。
宇宙人が絡むならちなみ成分は 100% 賛成になりますよ。
Oscar, you're gonna have to spill some details first. Sure, Oscar grinned.
昨べ、野球部は遅くまで練習をやっていた。その何人かが部活が終わってから校舎に入ったんだよ。トイレを借りたかったみたいでな。部室棟にもあるけど、野球部って人数多いから列ができちまうわけだ。それで、そいつらは空いているトイレに向かうため、校舎の廊下を歩いていた。その途中で、聞いたんだよ。
Oscar then finished with a hushed
音
voice.
楽室のピアノが一人でになるの。
Music box. Spare me. That's so cliche.
ありきたりだよね。あからさまにがっかりしてますよ、オカルト部長。
これだから白毛世代は。
Using that term without even knowing which years that generation was referring to, right?
いいか、野球部の連中は1階のトイレ近くで上から曲が響いてくるのを聞いたんだ。気になった連中は階段から2階に上がった。曲は確かにその階から聞こえていた。2階は特別教室が並んでいる階だ。だから音楽室だと目星をつけたんだ。そしてそいつらは実際にその辺りから部屋明かりが漏れているのを見つけて静かに歩き寄っていき、
お化けを見たの？
その前に明かりが消えて曲も途切れたそうだ。
As if to signal that his story ended there, Oscar took a sip from his glass.
きっと逃げられたんですね。宇宙人は恥ずかしがり屋さんだから。
お化けなのか死神なのか宇宙人なのか目撃してねえからわからんけどな。
Why is it that I've only been recording for half an hour, yet it feels like 3? Wait, I didn't actually enter the music room.
入ったけど変わったところはなかったらしいぜ。
Really couldn't make anything out of that
時
information.
間は夜7時半くらいだって話だ。だからその時間からひばり校で張り込みだ。
私も行こうかな。ちなみはもちろん同行します。
Okay, today's dinner will be at 7:30.
毎度ながらちなみを行かせたくなさそう。
ちなみちゃん、夕飯作ってるのしのさんなんだろ。バイト終わったらすぐ作ってもらえばいいさ。
道草しないでまっすぐ帰ってしのさんにお願いします。
Hello, on Shino. I would like to have beef stew today.
煮込むのに時間がかかるメニューにして何が何でも行かせたくなさそう。もうようちゃん、過保護すぎるのも考えものだよ。
What I'm doing isn't called being overprotective.
過保護なやつはみんなそう言うんだよ。
I guess I've never met those people.
今回もお前がついてくればいいだろう。それとも前回みたいな不毛な論議してえのか。
Fine, I'll go, but in exchange like before, no staying over.
最初からそのつもりだ。今回は前回より早い時間に集まるしな。
葵さんと鈴葉ちゃんも誘う？
Don't know whether they'd even like to come, but I'll at least ask, yeah.
話はついたな。集合場所は校門前だ。遅れるなよ。
Everyone nodded in response to Oscar.
ちなみに今度こそ虫取り網持っていきますね。私はやっぱり天体双眼鏡持っていきたいな。
Guess I'll look for a good mobile game to waste time on while we're there.
お前ら本当何しに来るんだよ。 集まるのはこれで全員か？
はい、葵ちゃんと鈴葉ちゃんは不参加です。何か用事？
Apparently, Suza has a slight cold, so Aoi didn't want her going out.
夏風邪？ちょっと心配だな。鈴葉ちゃんは来たがってましたし元気でしたよ。葵さんも鈴葉ちゃんに過保護だもんね。
Why are you looking at me?
そういえばちなみちゃん、虫取り網はやめたのか？
はい、持ってきたかったんですけど諦めました。
She did a poor job storing it, so bugs ate a big hole in the thing.
虫の逆襲だね。でも次までには新しいの買っておきます。今月中にお兄ちゃんからお小遣いもらう予定ですから。
If you complete your summer break homework, that is. You can do that.
それは愚問だよお兄ちゃん。ちなみ予報ではそろそろ妖精さんが現れて手伝ってくれるからね。
I could already see you panicking on the last day of summer break.
もう時間だな。みんな。
ちなみはいつでも万端です。
Let's get this on already so we can prove this story bogus and go home.
校舎の窓から眺める星空も格別なんだよ。
もう張り込みの邪魔しなけりゃ何でもいい。話すときは声落とすようにしろよ。
I just want you to go like, listen up. You're the reason why I'm fucking dragged out here at this time of goddamn night, so you don't get to complain, buddy. We've snaked in several times already, so we're used to it. Apart from these tests of courage, I'd also snuck in to get Asa's telescope from the club room, and then there was also the time I used to see Aoi on the rooftop. The fact that the security didn't catch me, or even any of us for that matter, was actually kind of unsettling.
ちなみたち、どこで張り込むの？
Logically thinking, there's only one place that comes into question.
アスカ君、行き先は音楽室？
いや、まずは4階まで歩いてみて、何もなかったら最後に音楽室で張り込みだな。
So almost the same as last time, huh?
野球部は合宿してねえから体育館も覗けるな。
Being very careful not to keep our noise levels to a minimum, we tiptoed down the dim hallway. Weirdly enough, this music mildly reminds me of Bravely Default because of the ruin, like house ruin or like castle ruin theme, kinda. Next, we advanced to the second floor where the specialist rooms were lined up. This was the floor in question.
って、おい、明かりが見えるぞ。
Looks like it's from one of the rooms further down.
あそこって音楽室ですか？位置的にそんな気がするけど。
Suddenly we'd hit the jackpot. I can't hear a piano playing.
引きつかれてお休みしてるとか？練習熱心な宇宙人ですね。
それにしても、お前ら怖がらねえのな。
Since our resident scaredy cat Aoi wasn't present today, this whole thing didn't feel like a test of courage at all. While a rational line of thinking would say that it's just a brass player in the band who came to get some they
ま
forgot.
すます肝試しっぽくないね。
話してねえで向かうぞ。現場を抑えれば判明するんだ。
急ぎましょうカルト部長。宇宙人はもしかしたら帰り自宅してるから弾いてないのかも。
Avoiding any abrupt noises, we quickly made for the music room. It could also be someone from the security, so be super careful.
中に入って鉢合わせたら捕まっちゃうね。
そっと覗くしかねえだろうな。部屋から誰か出てきそうだったらすぐ逃げるぞ。
逃げ足の速さは自信ありますから任せてください。
Then, as we draw near the room with the light was leaking from, we realized that we'd gotten it wrong all along.
音楽室じゃなかったのか。
It was the audiovisual room. In other words, our club room. The room furthest in the back, which was right next to our club room, incidentally, was the music room. Anyone could have mistaken the room from afar.
なんで部室の明かりがついてるの？
Maybe Okaizumi came to get something he forgot.
宇宙人が DVD 見てるのかも。
とすると、ピアノの音は映画の BGM か。
Trying to figure this whole thing made for quite the comical image. Picture this whole thing. At any rate, nothing we can do but take a look inside. Put my hands on the sliding door.
小笠か。慎重にな。
音立てて逃がしたらお兄ちゃんのせいだからね。ようちゃん、早く早く。
With everyone closely sticking to the door, I quietly slid it open a bit. Instantly, the lights went out. Naturally, that startled me. Following that, I hear a door being slid open. It wasn't the one we were in front of, which could only mean it was the one from on the other side of the room. Directed a sidelong glance towards that direction, and thereupon spotted a silhouette. After that, all sound ceased and the figure kept still. We hadn't been noticed. It was almost praiseworthy that no one had raised their voice. Had it been security, it would have been thrust into a game of tag right then and there. Couldn't make out the person's face. Not only were they a fair distance apart, there was also the starlight shining inside from the hallway. Windows was only scarce, preventing me from getting a clear view. Oh hey, would you look at that? It's, what was her name? Ren? The menu should be able to tell me. It was Ren! I'm so fucking good. I feel like you can just put this as Yume or already at this point because it's just kind of obvious. We were all holding our breaths. I was worried that our two occult club members might have sprung at the silhouette after deeming it must be an alien or a Grim Reaper, but it stood still just like me. Also seemed to be unsure of what to do as well. Footsteps resounded, finally a sound. Now that person I noticed us standing out here, frozen in place or not, they started walking. Seemed like they were going to go down the stairway right next to them. In a motion to follow after that silhouette, another figure appeared from inside the club room. There were two of them. Similarly, I couldn't make out any facial features on that one either. This one, however, was much taller. The other one was relatively tiny, so when next to each other, they gave off the image of parent and child. After I heard the sound of a door being closed, the two of them disappeared off. After making sure they'd completely gone down the stairs, our strings of tension snapped. Is his father also one of those apparitions? Like an astral deity? It would make sense then why he just straight up has like higher, like, quote unquote mystical powers than everyone in the fucking like everyone in Komo's and Kosuka's family. I'm bad. Kosame, not Kosuka. Where the fuck did I get Kosuka? Oh, right. Someone's been watching my Primal Hearts 2 videos, and that's why. And yeah, in the entire, just their entire family. Because he just straight up had enough, like, spiritual powers, quote unquote, to manifest Kosame back during her weird phase during the full moon. Which, it was somehow a half-blood, quote-unquote. A mix between, like, one of those celestial deities and a human. That would make sense. Anyways. After making sure they'd completely gone down the stairs, our strings of tension snapped.
お兄ちゃん、お兄ちゃん、今の見た宇宙人が2匹もいたよ。
Are you fucking retarded? Why are you just assuming they were insectoids?
虫取り網で捕まえるからだよ。その後にお友達になるんだよ。
An action like that seemed much more likely to anger them and ignite a war, if you asked me.
私は普通の人に見えたけど、先生と生徒とか。
At the very least, we can rule them out. We can rule out them being security. I mean, it didn't look like someone from the security taking along a caught student that had sneaked in either.
だったら話は早い。ちなみちゃん、追うぞ。
はい、さっき下に降りていきましたよね。
The pair charged off towards the stairway the mysterious people had just descended seconds ago. Before I could warn them that the sound of them running would get them caught, they were out of my view.
ちゃん、私たちはどうする？
Let's first check the club room. Could have been robbers.
それだと私の望遠鏡が。
We then entered the room. We didn't switch on any lights to avoid tipping off the security. The starlight was dim, but it wasn't completely dark, so we could see enough to find our way around. Also made a beeline for the reference room and stormed inside. No signs of the room having been ransacked. There was nothing to worry about in here. I followed after Hoshizora. So?
望遠鏡は無事だったよ。よかった。
What about the rest?
暗くて確認しづらいけど、大丈夫っぽいよ。
So it would appear that they weren't here to steal things.
さっきの人影だけど、逆に私たちを警備員だと間違えて逃げていったとか？
I could hardly say that. I mean, they sure didn't look to be in a hurry or anything.
でもタイミング良すぎない？私たちがドア開けてすぐに電気が消えるなんて。
She was exactly right. It was mere coincidence, or like also said something done intentionally. However, I did know that I tried my damn best to make as little sound as possible when I opened the door. Even if I did happen to make noise, there was just no way they could have pulled off a reaction that quickly. So if Asa was on the right track, that would mean they noticed us already before we were about to look inside the room.
案外メアちゃんだったりして。
Supposing it was Mare, it was possible she could have observed us as we were walking down the hallway while invisible. While one of them kind of looked like her. The one with the smaller stature, to be precise. However, I couldn't say for sure whether her height was as small as Mare's. But still, there's the other one we have to worry about too.
メアちゃんのお兄さんとか。
She's told me before she has no family.
そうなの？
Well, I don't know whether that's actually true. Her name Mare was just an assumed name too, for that matter. Shall we go back? I'm worried about the other two.
そうだね。警備員に見つかってなきゃいいけど。
Thereupon, we left the club room.
結局見失っちまったぜ。
UFO に乗って自分の星に帰っちゃったのかな。
We joined up with them at the school's doorway and walked out to the gate all together. Well, glad to see you didn't get caught.
あまり無茶しちゃダメだよ、二人とも。それは難しいです、先輩。ちなみは宇宙人捕獲のためならどんな山も谷も海も越える覚悟がありますから。
Asa was worried sick about you, and that's the dinky reply you give her.
このグリグリだけは乗り越えられそうにないよ、お兄ちゃん。
俺はちなみちゃんに1票だな。ノーリスクじゃリターンは望めねえよ。
So in summary, they were absolutely going to keep this nonsense going, and I would be stuck babysitting Chinami each time.
ようちゃん、疲れたため息ついてる。情けない低たらくだよ、お兄ちゃん。ちなみはまだ山も谷も海も越える体力が残ってるのに。
Then give me some of that energy, what don't you?
グリグリにそんな効果はないよ、お兄ちゃん。みんなまだ肝試し続ける？
もう一度張り込むのも手だけどな。
Let's save it for another day then in that case. You might find some more witnesses, so might as well wait for another round of questions.
終わらせたい気満々だな。
Like that was pretty transparent.
まあ一理あるし、ちょっと早いけどお開きにするか。
結局あの人影って何だったのかな。
それを知るためにもまた聞き込んでみるつもりだ。
Right, time to go.
お疲れさん。
お疲れ様。帰って葵ちゃんと鈴葉ちゃんに報告しなくちゃ。
The three of them went down the hill. I, however, went the other way, the other direction, up the hill. Found you, Mayor. What's wrong?
遅いから今夜は来ないかと思ってた。
Right, it was later than the usual time I came here. Sorry for making you wait.
別に待ってないけど。
Were you actually doing a test of courage? We were actually doing a test of courage at Ibari High until just now. You know what a test of courage is?
バカにしないで。前にもしてたじゃない。
Well, unfortunately, we didn't see you there this time around.
そうね。私はここにいたし。
Really?
どうして疑うの？
If Maya wasn't at Ibari High, that figure, well, with the small stature, wasn't her. I came here to ask you something.
私の質問が流された。
You can make yourself disappear, yeah?
そうね。
But you don't know yourself how it actually works, correct?
そうね。
Can you, for instance, move around while in that state?
どういうこと？
You once disappeared and then got behind me, right? After which she hit me with her scythe.
それが？
Was that teleportation, or did you just walk behind me after disappearing?
歩いて回ったけど。
So in other words, you can still see me in that state, yeah?
そうなるけど。
It was just so absolutely bizarre that I was teeming with curiosity to figure out how it worked. Being able to deduce the principle at work was a simple product of modern science's negligence. Not being able to deduce the principle at work was a simple product of modern science's negligence. That was what Cosme said. But in other words, that meant the process would eventually be discovered. So I suppose it was pointless to waste time thinking about that now. I guess this was why everyone called me an
ま
egghead.
た頭叩かれたいの？
Please no.
今夜は星明かりが不安定だし、やってあげてもいいけど。
Look, I just said not
じゃ
to.
あ、どうしてそんなこと聞いたの？
Well, something happened during the test of courage, you see.
ちょっと、何？
Might have met a relative of
死
yours.
神に親戚なんていないわ。
I knew you'd say
結
that.
局何なの？
To be honest, I don't really know
わ
myself.
からない話なんかしないで。
Fair point.
ヨウくん、
Mayor got fidgety. Need to go to the party?
死神はトイレなんて行かないわ。
Boy, I'd love to be you.
そうじゃなくて。
Mayor went on
オル
huffily.
ゴール、どうなったの？
It seems she'd been fretting over it. It's being repaired as we speak.
治るの？
Can't quite tell just yet.
もう
Come on, don't make such a huffy face.
誰も怒ってない。
It's gonna be just fine, so you don't have to worry.
誰も心配してない。その顔が気に食わない。
Okay, okay, put the scythe down, please.
もう帰る。
She turned around in a huff. Okay, good night, Mayor.
カー君。おやすみだって。
You could simply say that yourself rather than making him do
今
that.
夜のあなたはバカバカバカだったわ。
Hey, Joy, now was double the stupid. Muddle resting on her head, she then took her leave, disappearing into the darkness pathway. I need to show her that kaleidoscope music box again. Otherwise, she'd probably stay all party like that.
お兄ちゃんお兄ちゃんお兄ちゃん、見つけた。
What? Look who it was.
やっぱりここだったよお兄ちゃん。いつの間にかいなくなってたから心配になっちゃったよ。
You went around looking for me?
そうだよ、その通りだよ。オカルト部長とアソフ先輩もフェンスのところで待ってるよ。
Well, sorry about
まったくだ
that.
よ。このせいで寝るの遅くなって朝寝坊して朝ごはん作れなくなったらお兄ちゃんのせいだからね。だから明日はちなみモーニングを堪能してね。
I guess murder is my only option at this point.
思考がお茶風味だよお兄ちゃん。
I'm gonna be getting to bed later than usual too, so managed to get up earlier than me under the same conditions.
それは難しいよお兄ちゃん。ちなみは生まれてこの方、お兄ちゃんより睡眠時間が短かったことがないんだから。
All that sleep sure isn't doing anything for your growth.
会心の一撃が痛すぎるよお兄ちゃん。
I plucked my hand down on her head. Let's go home. I don't want to keep the others out too long. Chinami latches onto my arm. Don't cling to me.
いいんだよ。ちなみたちは兄弟だからね。
You want us can also sing us like this?
見られてもいいんだよ。先輩たちはすでにちなみたちが大の仲良しだって嫌というほど知って。ちなみをアイアンクローで気明かそうとしないでお兄ちゃん。
We thus made our way home while fooling around like always.
Yo, また来てやったぜ。
I'm going to fucking murder you if you decide to suggest another stakeout. After lunchtime, Asuka showed up at the cafe.
またひばりく行ってたの？
まあな。昨日はグラウンド組の部活が中心だったけど、今日は体育館組に聞き込んできたぜ。
何かわかりましたか？人影の正体判明しましたか？
バッチリだ。座ってから話そうぜ。
I didn't expect him to get all the new information this quickly. I could only pray I wasn't in for another test of courage tonight.
さて、それじゃあ聞いてもらおうか。
After everyone had sat down, Asuka began to talk in an earnest tone.
バスケ部の女子部員から得た情報なんだが、その子は昨日部活が終わってから校舎の2階を歩いていたそうなんだ。美術部に友達がいるそうでな。夏休み中は文化部のほとんどが休んでるけど、自主的に活動してる生徒も少数だがいるんだ。その子は美術部の友達と一緒に帰るため、2階の美術室に向かったわけだ。
まさかその子と友達が昨日の人影？
Maybe numbers at least.
だが幸いなことにそうじゃねえ。2人が帰ったのは夕方って話だ。俺たちの肝試しよりずっと前だ。
それにちなみたちが人影を見たのは美術室じゃなくて視聴覚室ですよね。
ああ、だから正体はその子らじゃねえ。2人は目撃した側だ。
You mean they saw the figures too? Asuka nodded.
ジョバスが終わったのが夕方前。それから美術部の友達を迎えに行って、その友達が後片付けを終えて、2人が部屋を出た頃にはすっかり日が傾いていたそうだ。その帰り際にすれ違ったそうなんだ。
人影と？
その候補者だな。
宇宙人ですか？
候補者だな。
So who was it?
先生だ。
Ah, the teachers could very well be an alien. My ass. Dude, you can't even call that a ghost story.
そろそろ肝試し飽きてきちゃった。
お前ら言いたい放題だな。
オカルト部長が言いたいことはわかります。その先生が宇宙人エージェントだって睨んでるんですね。
おうよ、その通りだ。
Two of them were starting to feel less like no fellow members of the human race.
あからさまに哀れまれてますよ、オカルト部長。
これだからイチゴ世代は。
You're basically choosing those terms at random now, aren't you?
いいか、目撃した2人はどちらも1年なんだ。そしてその先生とは面識がなかったんだ。
じゃあどの先生かわからないの？
そうだ。
1年担当の先生じゃないってこと？
そうかもしれねえし、もしかしたら部外者だった線もある。
So where did the teacher thing come from then?
相手がスーツを着ていたからだ。そんな姿で校舎を歩いているのは普通先生くらいなもんだろう。
I'll be fucking honest, I've never had a teacher that was wearing a suit. Outside of like special occasion, like, oh yes, it's like the fucking goddamn like Abistreich. That's all I can say. I don't. There is no fucking English word for this. Basically, like one day of the school year, one Friday, the people who are going to graduate after having finished their tests, just basically get a whole day to put on a fucking massive ass show, like spanning the entire fucking school, and it can get wildly chaotic. It is also pretty much fucking for a very long time, it was also pretty much fucking tradition to put because they would always shoot at the students coming in with water guns. And it was basically tradition to fill those water guns with heavily diluted beer. Like once they like straight up built like a narrow corridor to the front door of the school made out of fucking hay bales and fucking massive beer canisters.
正体は礼節を重んじる宇宙人だったんですね。
その可能性は否定できねえな。
だったら友好関係も築けそうだね。
Great. Now you've joined the Looney Club, Asuho.
どういう意味だよ。
スーツを着た人物は男だったそうだ。先生だと思った二人がさようならと挨拶したら、気をつけて帰りなさいとぶっきらぼうに答えたって話だ。
ぶっきらぼうが気になるけど、先生っぽい対応だね。先生の振る舞いをよく研究してたんですね。
それから男は視聴覚室に入っていった。一人でな。
So that was all to the story. That was all to the story, it seemed. One of the two we saw yesterday had a tall stature. I reckon it was a man. And that teacher had stayed in the AV room, our Astro Circle's club room, due to some business he had to take care of in there at that hour.
その先生、一人だったの？
俺が聞いた限りじゃそうだな。
And that only begs the question of who that other person we saw was.
その先生が宇宙人エージェントだとしたら、視聴覚室で仲間を呼んで秘密談義をしてたのかもしれねえ。
You're retarded.
それから UFO に乗って帰っていったんですね。
Those two felt like the real aliens to me.
アスカ君、本当にそう思うの
？Also, though, still remained in the world of reality, just like me.
あくまで希望だ。俺としては宇宙人でも恋の死神でも変わらねえからな。
As long as you can come out saying you had a supernatural experience, that's all you want, basically.
写真に収めて、そういった存在を証明できればいいって話だよ。
I've always wanted to ask you this question just once, but why are you so into this crap?
好き嫌いに理由なんていらねえだろ
でもきっかけとかあるんじゃない？私が天文ファンになったのはお父さんの影響だし。
For me, it was pretty much to look at a girl. What's your motivation?
オカルトファンになったきっかけか。
Right.
妹が宇宙人にさらわれたからだ。
Yeah, go ahead and piss off. But we do know he has a little sister now. So, the fucking shrine is kidnapping kids to turn them into shrine maidens now? What the fuck? Yeah, and the response he gave in such a low solemn tone left me utterly speechless.
冗談に決まってるだろ。そんな顔するな。
He was wearing a frivolous smile as he said so. Should have asked that thoughtlessly. That indiscretion was stupid of me.
アスカ君の妹さんっ
冗談って言っただろうが。
オカルト部長、きっと妹さんは宇宙人と遊んでて帰りが遅くなってるだけですよ。だから絶対戻ってきます。
ああ、期待してるぜ。
Chinami's cheerfulness washed away the negative atmosphere with ease. I was thankful to that, and maybe Asuka was as well. Truth be told, she might actually have been a good asset as Asuka's fellow member of the occult circle.
話を戻すぜ。その男が先生かどうかはわからねえ。だけど俺たちが見た人影の一つにほぼ間違いねえ。そして、もし何らかの必要性があって視聴覚室に訪れていたなら、また訪れる可能性は高い。
ということは、また？
ああ、今夜も肝試しを決行するぜ。
Hello, Onshino. How about we eat out tonight? I was thinking like some restaurant at least 2 hours drive away.
いい加減一発で許してほしいよ、お兄ちゃん。
I'm kidding. We'll do the test of courage. Pat her on the head.
簡単に許してくれた。
Of course I'm coming along too.
け、やっと物分かりがいい兄貴になったか。
アスカ君のおかげかもね。
Also, it said so quietly that Asuka wouldn't hear.
アスカ君、いらっしゃい。
Also, his dad brought us some iced tea.
そういえば注文取ってなかった。
今日は僕のおごりだけど、次から忘れないように。
はーい。
Now the glasses for all of us.
すいません。いただ
いただきまーす。
You can go ahead and take ours out of our
お
pay.
ごりだと言ったろ。お客もまだ来ないだろうし、ゆっくりしていていいから。
って言っても、だいたい話終わったよね。
早いところ都市伝説の謎を解き明かしたいんだがな。
ひばり校の都市伝説かい？
はい。恋の死神が宇宙人かどうか、日々検証してるんです。
ついに宇宙人になってしまったのか。
No, don't listen to her. She's just being a goofball.
マスター、客から都市伝説のこと何か聞いてたりはしてないっすか？
ひばり校の生徒がたまに噂してるけど、具体的な話は聞いてないよ。
That urban legend was already around back when you were a student there, right?
そうだね。内容は以前に話したと思うけど、僕が知っている噂では、その男は病で余命いくばくもなかったそうだ。だから男は恋人だった女に自分のことを忘れてほしいと願うようになった。すると死神が現れて女から男の記憶を奪っていった。死神だから恋の記憶を買ったという表現が妥当なのかな。そのまま男女は別れることになったそうだよ。
Another thing you told us was...
まやかさんやしのさんも何か知ってそうっすか？
シノはわからないけど、まやかは神社の跡取りだったこともあって、当時からオカルトには詳しかったよ。
Say, Asuka, why not try asking Mayaka about it? She's the head priestess of a shrine, so she's bound to know a lot more when it comes to the supernatural. Asuka raised one of his
なん
brows.
だ？ますます乗り気になってきやがったな。
I just want these tests of courage to end as soon as possible.
小雨ちゃんにアポ取ってもらおっか。バイトが終わってから聞きに行くとか。
情報は大いに越したことはねえ。俺もそのうち聞きに行く予定だったしな。
Looked like we were
みな
doing
ほ
it.
し、頼めるか？おかけんとして、ひばり校の都市伝説について教えてほしいって要件で。
小雨ちゃんにメール送ってみるよ。すぐ帰ってくるんじゃないかな。ちなみもお話聞きに行きたいです。
ちなみちゃんはおかけんの仲間だ。断る理由はねえな。
I'll also tag along if we get the okay.
もちろん、私も同行だよ。
お前らは部外者だけど、まあいいか。
Like, honest God, just like fucking like, listen up. At this point, I'm no longer unrelated because you're the reason why I continue to have to fucking stay up until God knows when because of these fucking stupid stakeouts. Anyways, also his dad was watching us with a somewhat nostalgic expression on his face, so they remember the words he said before. Boss, did you believe in the urban legend?
そうだ、僕はどちらかというと信じていた方かな。だけど解明したいとは思わなかったよ。
Why is that?
時代の差かな。都市伝説の謎はきっと僕たちの世代よりも君たちの世代で挑むのが正しいんだ。でないと都市伝説の意味がない。そういうことだよ。
メール返ってきたよ。小雨ちゃんがまやかさんに聞いたらいつでもいらっしゃいだって。
よっしゃ、決まりだな。
バイトは上がっていいよ。お疲れ様。
But
お疲れ様。お疲れ様です。
Christ, have you ever heard of this thing called humility?
最近グリグリの頻度が飛躍的にアップしてるよ、お兄ちゃん。
Yeah, because you keep doing shit to piss me off.
マヤカはズボラだからね。すっぽかされる前に早く神社に向かった方がいい。都市伝説の謎を解く気があるのならね。
Thanks to the boss's consideration, we had thus gotten off of work earlier than scheduled. We'd have the whole evening to talk with Mike if we headed over to the shrine now.
いらっしゃい。
Also, and her friends now having left the cafe as empty and silent as can be. Hearing the ringing of the bell, me and Hoshizora looked up from his newspaper and practically by reflex gets ready to serve the customer.
宗一郎先輩。
However, the customer, who had walked in through the door, turned out to be an old friend, so Soichiro loosened up again and put the newspaper away next to him.
シノか、仕事はどうしたんだい？
ちょうど原稿を編集者に送ったところなんです。
そうか。新作を書き終えたんだね。
Shino sat down at the counter, so Soichiro makes her a coffee, but he thinks she well deserves. Shino's expression is steep. Normally Shino is the warm and gentle type, who always has a smile on her face, but she felt somewhat different to that now. It was unusual. Soichiro, having been around her for many years, knew that this happened from time to time.
何かあったのかい？
そう見えますか？
見えるから聞いたんだよ。
She forces her lips to form a smile. It was also a rare occurrence to see such a feeble smile on her face.
君は根を詰めやすいからね。一仕事終えて疲れが出たんじゃないかな。
そうですね。そうなのかもしれません。
天文部にいた頃、君は夢見がちでぼんやりした子だと思ってた。だけど努力家なんだと後で気づいた。どちらの意味でも絵本作家というのはまさしく夢を叶えたと言っていいんだろうけどね。
だけど頑張りすぎは良くないですか？
ああ、君のお姉さんだって。悪かったね。こんなことを言うつもりはなかった。
いえ、その通りだと思いますから。
Soichiro placed the coffee he made in front of Shino. After thanking him, Shino brought the cup to her mouth with both of her hands wrapped around it.
夢を叶えたというなら、宗一郎先輩の方ですよ。
僕はもう天文学から身を引いているからね。
夢は人にとって必要なものですよね。
Words seemed to be both an answer to what Soichiro said and a question at the same time.
あの子たちはどうなんでしょうか。夢があるからここに来ているんでしょうか。
Soichiro finally understands the reason behind her visit. The reason for that exhaustion she's showing. That lonely
それ
gaze.
ともあの子たちがバイトをしているのは自分の夢のためではなく私のためなんでしょうか。私のせいなんでしょうか。それは夢のためどころか 夢の妨げになるんじゃないでしょうか。
They are still in school. They're gaining experience. At least Joe is. But frankly, fucking Chinami should be hitting the goddamn books instead of working. Because if she were to fucking graduate the way she is right now, she would be fucking bad into society, kind of like me. Just, you know, worse somehow.
私のせいで姉さんの子供たちが時間を犠牲にするのなら、やりたいことをできず犠牲になるのなら。
The coffee surface is slightly rippling. Shino's hands are shaking.
バイトのこと小笠原君とちなみちゃんは君に話していなかったんだね。
隠していたようです。
隠し通せるはずがないのにね。
そうでしょうか。
家族に隠し事はとても難しい。一緒にいる時間が長いんだから。現に君は気づいてる。
あの子たちは。
After some initial hesitation, she continues.
あの子たちは私を家族と思っていないから隠し通せると思ったのかもしれませんね。
She said those words knowing full well the pain and suffering they would give her. Soichiro himself isn't capable of sealing that wound. His job is to take responsibility and bring his underclassmen to the infirmary.
話し合ってみなさい。君の思いを伝えてみなさい。
One more reason to hate Chinami's route. How dare they make best auntie sad like this?
そして相手の思いも汲み取りなさい。きっとそれで解決する。それだけで解決するんだよ。
Normally these conversations are difficult to bring up precisely because of your family, which of course doesn't apply to the current Kokusakas yet. Shino and her niece and nephew haven't even started working towards that.
君が思っているよりもその傷の治療薬はずっと簡単に手に入るからね。
いらっしゃい。よく来たわね。
It is always a pleasure to see you. Wait, what? Not say anything. You were shown to the living room where Mayaka was sitting in front of the table.
どうぞ。麦茶ですよ。
Goldsmith then brought drinks over from the kitchen, which I could only guess she prepared in advance. God, seeing this just reminds me of better routes. Hold on. Let's just go play. Let's just go replay Goldsmith's Komodo's route. No, it's ever coming on such short notice.
いえいえ。それよりテンクルの部員とメンツが違うわね。
Yeah, we're actually coming here on the order of the Cold Circle's business.
お母さん、私もそう話したと思いますよ。
ああ、そうだったかしら。あんたたち兼務してるの？
Oh, no, we're, I guess, what you'd call helpers in a sense.
勝手についてきたって感じです。ちなみはれっきとしたおかけメンバーです。
で、俺が部長っす。海水浴の時以来っすね。
小雨のお友達のアスカくんね。お久しぶり。
なんかやけに集まってるわね。
Hizakaki now joined the mix too.
姉さんもご一緒しますか？飲み物もらいに来ただけなんだけど。一体何の騒ぎなのよ。
この子たちが都市伝説について聞きたいらしくてね。
それってひばり校の？
ああ、そっちも何か知ってたら教えてくれ。
おかけんの活動ってわけ。
話が早いな、こももちゃん。
その呼び方やめてくれる？私だけの特権だもんね。
許した覚えはないし、何度言ってもやめないから諦めてるだけよ。
Asuka, don't go jumping the gun. We need to talk to Mayaka first before he's attacked.
分かってるって。それが目的だからな。
なんでか知らないけど期待されてるみたいね。
Well, Asu's dad was the one who sent us. He said you'd be the person to ask if we wanted to know about the urban legend. Mayaka heaved a light
大
sigh.
方オカルトに詳しいからってだけでしょ。その見地からでいいなら教えてあげられるけど、
However, she went on.
多分あんたたちが欲しい回答はあげられない。それでもいいかしら。
私たちが欲しい回答？宇宙人は実在するか？
Of course not, Barbarian. It's clearly about whether the Grim Reaper of Love exists or not.
まやかさんにもわからないってことっすか？
そうよ。ひばり港で噂が立った恋の死神が誰を指すのか、それは知らない。存在するのかもわからない。だけど聖天宮の人間としてなら、それは星神様かもしれないって思うわけ。
Alternative theory. The girl and the boy from the urban legend were actually yours and Chinami's mom and dad. Things happened. Yo is already born. Or not. Maybe he just died from the sickness. Was somehow reborn as a celestial deity. That's too messy. That's too messy. Who cares? Star guy.
なんすかそれ。
You as a supernatural junkie don't even know what that is.
神話の類は管轄外なんだよ。
神様の名前かな？
うちが祀ってる神様のことよ。天津三日星に連なる神の総称みたいなものね。
古来より信心深い民が星神様と呼んでいましたが、今では精神と簡単に呼ぶことも多いんですよ。
そっちは主に精霊と区別するために使ってるって感じだけどね。
Chinami's eyes started to spin. Asuka was listening wordlessly, noting everything down. I remember hearing that name, August Star of Heaven, at the Summer
あの
Festival.
ご神体を天津三日星のよりしろとして小桃が神楽を奉納したの。その時に言ったかもしれないわね。
その時の姉さん、素敵でしたよ。
やめて、思い出させないで。
Zgak seemed embarrassed, so say Tengu worships the August Star of Heaven, plus all the other deities related to it.
まとめるとそうなるわね。
天津三日星ってどんな神様なんですか？
日本神話における星の神よ。荒々しい神でね。他の神が服従させようとしてもなかなかできなかったんだって。そんな風に祀ろわぬ神だったから日本神話における唯一の邪神とされているわ。
No, now now I'm actually kind of curious to read up on the actual mythology behind it. Matsumikaboshi. Japanese mythology, Matsumikaboshi, interpretable as either the Red Star of Heaven or August Star of Heaven, also called Ame no Kagaseo. I mean, that does also explain the whole, like, weird Red Star thing that the president keeps saying. Interpretable as either Scarecrow Male of Heaven or Brilliant Male, Hoshigami Kaseo, Ame no Seo, or Ame no Murakumo no Mikoto, was originally a rebellious Shinto god, possibly malevolent, who would not submit to the will of the Matsukami. Under Chinese Buddhist influence, the god was identified as Myoken, either as the pole star or Venus before being combined with the god of all stars, Ama no Minakanushi, divine lord of the middle heavens. In some versions, he was born from Kagutsuchi's blood. He is mentioned in passing in the Nihon Shoki as being subdued by Takemikatsuchi during the latter's conquest of the land Izumo. In Mikaboshi, the Chaos King, is a fictional character appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. The character is usually depicted as a demonic god of evil who is best known as either an enemy to Hercules or Thor. He is based on Mikaboshi of Japanese mythology. Okay, I don't really care about that. I just... I would like to read up on more here. Too bad, apparently, that's all they fucking have here. What the fuck? Oh well. I'm still convinced I did a thing will at one point just murder himself with one of his projects. I mean, yes, I made a shark-proof wetsuit. Brilliant idea there, bucko. That won't go wrong at all.
As it protects.
Whoops. Didn't mean to start the video.
そう伝えられているんですよね。おとぎ話みたいなものね。これが西洋だったら死神にでもされてたんじゃない？
悪い神様なんですか？
聖天宮としてはそうだと言ってもいいんだけどね。私個人としては難しい質問になるわ。神々の争いは人間の戦争と同じよ。善悪では測れない。
So you're saying essentially that it depends on how you interpret it.
そうよ。歴史というのは戦争の勝利国の記録って言われるけど、神話というのも案外そうなのかもよ。
All the convincing arguments, I nodded. Having finished writing down everything, Oscar raised his head.
その星神様が恋の死神なんすか？
私の立場では宇宙人も恋の死神も星神様になるのよ。岡県の部長くん。
Oscar knitted his brows.
まやかさんは星神様が実在するって考えているわけですよね。
She knows.
実在しないなんて言ったらこの神社を追われるわね。
私たちも同じですよね、姉さん。
一緒にしないで。私は信じてないから。
So that's Shrine Maidens here, that's more along the lines of realist. So that's Shrine Maidens here, that's more along the lines of a realist. Hizaki, what is your take on the urban legend?
誰かが悪ふざけで流したんでしょ？よくある学校の七不思議と同じよ。
そしてひばりが崎は娯楽が少ないから生徒が飛びつき、長く語り継がれていると締めるわけですね。
なんか当てつけがましいわね。
私から話せるのはこういった神話の類くらいよ。まだ聞きたいかしら？
天文ファンの私としては聞きたいです。ちなみも神様の部分を宇宙人に脳内変化しますから聞きたいです。
What up to you, Asuka?
情報は大いに越したことはねえって言ったろ。聞ける話は全部聞くぜ。
それじゃ眠くならないような面白いおとぎ話でも聞かせてあげようかしらね。
Who sat there attentively listening to Mayaka's stories until the sun set. Hizaki looking bored and Kosume, with her eyes smile on her face, looking at her sister, who remained until the end. After we expressed our gratitude and left the house, Mayaka came out to the shrine grounds to see us off and then asked me this.
最近、シノはどう？
She's doing great. She got up earlier than usual today and she said she's done with her work for the moment and can finally take a
本
break.
当にそう思ってる？
What's she trying to imply? Does she still have work left?
そっちじゃなくて、元気かってところ。
I haven't noticed anything wrong with her.
彼女は夢見がちで、純粋だからね。だから、家族というものに対しても夢を抱いていた。得てしてそういう女は、現実を知って深く傷ついてしまうわけよ。
What are you talking about?
分かってて聞かないでほしいわね。シノとあんたたちの話じゃない。
You're saying Chinami and I are causing her disappointment?
そうじゃない。そう言ってもいいのかもしれないけど、この場合の現実を知って傷ついたっていうのは過去の話。その傷が今でも残っているっていう話よ。
Okay, then it's probably gonna be that Shino was the girl from the Grim Reaper of Love. Like, urban legend. That would make sense why there's a wound and wanted to make a family. Like, yes, she just forgot about it, but that would certainly just leave a massive fucking hole in her. You're approaching me. I see it now. The tone was terse and different, making me unable to grasp her emotions.
あんたの名前を初めて聞いたとき、シノは結婚したのかと思ったって言ったわよね。だけど、それはシノが子供を産んだって意味じゃない。あんたの年になるまで結婚を知らされないほど私たちは浅い間柄じゃない。私はね、相手の男の連れ子かと思ったのよ。
And Marka went and said,
だってシノは子供を産めない体だから。
シノさん、ちょっといいですか？
After dinner, Aoi, who had been riding in the living room, went up to Chino after she had finished cleaning up.
何かしら？これ、今までごちそうになった分の食費です。
Like Shino just looks at it. What's it with kids and trying to give me money? I know I'm a storybook author for children's books, but that's not what I'm expecting here. She held down an envelope to her.
いらないって言っても無駄なのよね。もう私の親からも話が言ってると思います。そうね。それじゃあいただくわ。
She took the money with a somewhat troubled expression.
ご迷惑かもしれませんけど、これからもよろしくお願いします。迷惑なんて何もないのよ。鈴葉ちゃんが嫌になるまで食べに来ていいんだから。ちなみも鈴葉ちゃんとずっと一緒に食べたいよ。だからこちらこそよろしくね。はい、ありがとうございます。葵ちゃんもずっと一緒だからね。死ねばいいのに。そんなこと言っちゃダメだよ、お姉ちゃん。いすずちゃんも嫌になるまで来ていいのよ。鈴葉がお邪魔してる限り、私も同行しますから。ちなみたちはもう家族になったってことだね。死ねばいいのに。そんなこと言っちゃダメだよ、お姉ちゃん。
I figured this would be my chance. We need to get going to Buddy High here in a second to do our next test courage session. Maybe I ought to make use of the situation before that. We should take advantage of Oi having passed her the money for their food expenses and also pass her money for ours. I'd withdrawn my pay from last month and currently had it on me. Didn't amount to much, but I could always give her the rest another time. What was most important wasn't the total money left, but rather getting on to Shino to actually accept the money. She wasn't really wanting me to work in the first place, so I couldn't see her taking the money under normal circumstances. Though luckily for me, I created an opportunity window. If I made use of that and broached it right now, she wouldn't be able to turn it down easily. I had to do it now. As soon as she'd taken it once, the second and third time would get easier. This was my only chance to express to her my gratitude in a tangible form. Onshino, called her name. Onshino then looked at me. Leisurely, she directed a warm smile at me, comprised of kindness throughout. A moment it transpired, and thereupon, an abrupt pain pierced me, coupled with keen regret.
だってシノは子供を産めない体だから。
何？ようちゃん？
I hesitated, then with some delay got to my business. Now that I'd already slipped through the window, I was far beyond the point of return. I'd also I would only hurt her by saying this. I realized that, very much belatedly so. It had taken me so long. I did not realize sooner. I wanted to give you money for food expenses. So.
それでバイトをしていたのね。
Onshino directed a silent gaze at me. She seemed calm. Lost the demeanor she'd assumed. No one interjected, which told me that they probably all of them had realized that my words had caused something to shatter.
私のためにバイトをしていたのね。
Dad caused something inside Onshino to
私
shatter.
のせいで負担をかけてしまったのね。
Why did I not predict this? Why? Maybe I'd only been looking at myself this entire time. Maybe I hadn't been looking at her.
私は頼りにならないかしら。家族としてあなたの頼りにはならないのかしら。
Honest God, at this point, even if it wouldn't fix the situation completely, it's just like, no, quite frankly, you're extremely reliable. I'm just a stubborn prick. We used to be a family of 3. As early as I can remember, it had always been 3. My 1 year younger sister, Kokusaka Chinami, and our mother, Kokusaka Kasumi. When my mom gave birth to me, she was still living here in this house. She was living together with her 2 parents, along with her youngest sister Shino, as I'd been told. My grandfather passed away some time ago due to illness, and my elderly grandmother was living with some of our other relatives. Onshino had her hands full with work to spare the time needed to simultaneously take care of her. It heard that Onshino really wanted her to stay nonetheless, saying she'd be able to manage it, but ultimately it was our grandmother who decided it would be best to leave. The exact same situation as with our mother, but for a different reason. Mom left the house right after she became pregnant with Chinami. With her infant firstborn, me in her arms, she moved out and into an apartment. It wasn't hard to imagine just how difficult that must have been for her. Being pregnant was already taxing enough by itself, but on top of that, she also had to raise me, still a newborn, as a single mother. Needless to say, she didn't hold a job during that time. She was apparently able to somehow cover all the living expenses at that time, but of course, when it came time for Chinami to be delivered, she wasn't able to look after me. From what I'd been told, it was her sister Shino who stepped in and helped her at the time. Since our mother had left the house completely, ignoring my grandparents and relatives' opposition, Onshino had to help her secretly. That was how it was. Back when our mother had been left to fend on her own, Onshino was her sole ally.
姉さんから聞いていたの。あなたは甘えない子供だって。お小遣いをねだったこともない。わがままを言って困らせることもない。親子喧嘩をしたことすらない。それは多分自分が頼りないからかもしれないって姉さんから聞いたことがあったの。私はその時こう答えたわ。ようちゃんは優しい子だから仕事や家事で忙しい姉さんを助けたいだけだって。姉さんの負担を軽くしてあげたいだけだって。そう、私は軽い気持ちで言ってしまった。 子供を持たない私だから、理屈だけでそう答えてしまった。
Why don't you just say like, and you were on point?
だけど、
Chino kept her eyes glued on me, never looking away. I could see the affection she held for me in them. It was extensive, overwhelming. Just I couldn't directly meet her
今
eye.
ならわかるの。姉さんの気持ちがわかるの。理屈じゃない、親としての気持ちというものが、私も少しはわかるようになったの。
And son Chino got hurt. The failure of a son hurt his mother.
違うのよ。責めているんじゃないのよ。だって、あなたは悪くない。何も悪くないのよ。
Chino was smiling. Felt to me like that smile was ridden with
だっ
apology.
てようちゃんはとっても優秀なんだから。
To me, those words sounded like they were speaking volumes. They thrusted my mistake right before my eyes.
あなたは姉さんの自慢の息子なんだから。
I ultimately wasn't able to give her the money. Not because I decided not to, but because I passed over the time we decided to leave at. I always said they wouldn't take part in the test of courage, and Susa complied without objection. I suppose they figured they needed to keep on Chino company, and that was the right choice. If they not stayed, I think Chinami would have. And I suppose regardless, I wouldn't have been able to bring myself to stay. I was feeling restless, drawing anxiety welled up. Now I ought to talk things through with her more, but contrary to that, my feet were heading towards school. I was just running away from my problems. That was all I was doing.
お兄ちゃん、
Chinami talked to me in a voice so meager, you'd imagine it coming from someone you'd never imagined coming from someone as loud as her.
シノさんが言った通り、お兄ちゃんは悪くないよ。
I didn't reply. The meagerness, however, stopped right there.
だから元気出しなよ。お兄ちゃんの代わりにちなみがバイトするからね。ちなみはあくまで誰のためでもなく自分のためだけにお金稼ぐからね。
I love that mindset, Chinami.
なのにグリグリするのはデフォルトなの、お兄ちゃん。
Let's hurry or we'll be late for the test of courage. She replied with a smile on her face. After that, silent song. She didn't say anything further to me. Just clung to me with that incessant smile of hers. Unceasing smile of her, not an incessant. We arrived at the school gate to find nobody. Guess it was because we were late. Maybe they already went on in without us. Maybe they already went on in without us.
静かだね。
Yeah.
いかにも宇宙人が出そうな雰囲気だね。
You usually say ghost there.
オカルト部長とアスホ先輩、もう校舎の中かな。
Could be. Let's go after him. Suppose I should have messaged them before that, but I didn't. Above all else, I just didn't want to stay still. I didn't want to get a reply saying to wait for them to come back. Taking along Chinami and made for the school building. We advanced, while careful not to make our footsteps echo. Human presence was nowhere to be found, though I couldn't see ahead very far, so that didn't mean that Oscar and Asa weren't here on the first floor. Shouldn't have to say this, but make sure you're quiet.
わかってるよ。ちなみはすっかりベテラン肝試し人になったからね。
I wonder what Chinami thought about it. Did you think about me working? Did you know I'd end up hurting Chino? But, well, she wouldn't have started to work too if she did. I guess she was in the same boat as me. The second thought, no, the premise itself was entirely different. We weren't in the same boat. Our objectives weren't the same. Chinami did it for herself, and I did it for Chino. Maybe that decisive difference was the answer to everything.
誰もいないみたいだね。
We've reached the end of the hallway. The room is the AV room, so maybe they went there. It just didn't sit well with me as an Astra Circle member to have our club room haunted. This whole ordeal would all be resolved if we just figured out who those mysterious two people were. If they were actually those star gods Maka mentioned, I think from the Astro Circle's point of view, that'd be greater than aliens and ghosts.
それじゃあ2階にレッツゴー
Fuck up! Just wish this the courage veteran would keep her volume down. As we reached the second floor, myself from the silent mode vibrated. It was a mess from Muscle. They'd been waiting for us to arrive, but apparently spotted someone seeming to be from the security at the school gate and then ran away in the direction of the lookout. Apparently they were now waiting in front of the school gate. That's the deal, Chinami. Shall we go back? Chinami? Chinami was staring down the hallway. At the end of the hallway was the music room, and right before it was our club room. Chinami walked on totteringly. Get back here, Chinami.
お父さん
I was an absent-minded mutter. She stopped walking right away.
あれ
She looked around restlessly. What's the matter? With her eyes cast down, she told me.
今聞こえた気がしたのオルゴールの音お兄ちゃんと一緒に作ったオルゴールの音色
Jimmy looked around one more time. Starlight shining through the windows crossed through our silence. Can't hear anything. Are you sure you didn't just imagine that? Chinami shook her
ちゃん
head.
と聞こえたさっき聞こえたの間違えるはずないだってちなみは毎日聞いてるから
Chinami has now calmed down and gone quiet. Nuclear missile caliber cheerfulness was gone. I narrowed my eyes and stared at the other end of the dim hallway. You heard a music box playing?
うん
And it's the same song as the music box in your room?
うん
You don't know the title of that piece. It wasn't written on the score that we used. It was a special personal tune, one that very few people knew of. The reason being, it was Chinami's father who composed it. Someone who was no longer with us. You're sure of it? The phrasing Chinami's father makes me feel like his father is someone else. Let's check it out then. Chinami blinked her eyes in surprise. Let's go to the club room. Shouldn't take but a few seconds to check it out. It wouldn't really make Asu and Asuka wait noticeably longer. You might be able to meet some of the ghosts you love so much.
ちなみが好きなのは宇宙人だよ
Sorry, how could I forget? I gave her a light pat on the head. If there was another music box out there that played this unique tune, then maybe the ghost of Chinami's father made it. After a little bit of walking, we became able to clearly perceive the light leaking out of the hallway from our club room. Leaking out to the hallway from our club room.
大変です大変です
大変そうに聞こえないが、どうした？
なんと人がこちらに向かっています
Why hello there, then.
またか。一昨日と昨日もそうだったが。
I can 100% see the fucking resemblance between him and Yo, at least. They just put fucking assholes that there a second time. But yeah, you can see it, right? You can see it. Well, just look at him. Same hair color, same eye color, similar fucking hairstyle.
オルゴールを鳴らしたのが間違いだったのでは
確認しないと直せないだろうが。
修理は終わったんですか
あと少しだ。曲はもう鳴るけどな。
残りの作業は中断した方が良さそうです。
またあいつらなのか。
なんと、そうです。
すぐ片付けに入る。
やっぱり会いたくないんですね。
そうだ。
あの子たちがこの学校に通っているなら時間の問題なのに。
それでもだ。悪いか？
悪くないです。クスクス。
その笑いはやめろ。
ダメ人間。クスクス。
She really does have a weird fetish, doesn't she?
言ってろ。とにかくすぐ逃げるぞ。
逃げるくらいなら最初から部室で作業なんてしなければいいのに。
知ってるだろ。俺の家は散らかってるんだ。スペースがないんだよ。
ダメ人間。クスクス。
いいから、俺が見つからないようにサポート頼むぞ。
わかりました。相手をびっくりさせますから、その間に逃げてください。
Like she just comes out, tries to startle Leora, just deadass grabs her by the face. Mare, not Mare. Sorry. Oh, hi, Dad.
片付け終わったから電気消すぞ。
待ってください。その前に、そのオルゴールを貸してください。
どうするんだ？
相手をびっくりさせるのに使うんです。それだけじゃない。君との約束を果たすために使いたいんです。また。
Chinami was right. A nostalgic piece I knew all too well entered my ears. The piece of Chinami's music box. The first year after we moved away from Barigasaki, she and I made it together as a summer research project. This tune color, this melody. There was no doubt it was the sole thing Chinami's father left behind for her. Chinami broke into a sprint. Unable to hold her back, followed after. The lights in the club room were already out. Yet the melody of the music box continued playing. Someone was there inside. Maybe something. Chinami screamed for him. Chinami put her hands on the door and slid it open.
ちなみはいらない子供だったの？それが君の風ですね。
Yike! That's not something I expected. Like, Jesus, fuck. Like, yes. Was Chinami an accident? I mean, like, character-wise, yes, but I doubt in universe. Standing inside was a lone girl. There were two things I could hear inside the lightless room. The melancholic melody of the music box. And the carrying voice of a girl holding a scythe much too big to fit her stature. Chinami was unable to move. And the same was true for me. The frozen in place Chinami then squeezed out her words. Two simple words. She then swung her down her scythe. The blade pierced Chinami's chest, followed by a shattering noise. Something which dwelled inside of Chinami. This was what Mare did to me. That was the scene I recalled right now when looking at her. Chinami's body tilted backwards. I caught her as she was about to fall to the ground. Her eyes were closed shut. It appeared she was unconscious, almost like she'd fallen asleep. As for the girl in front of Chinami, she only gazed at her. Starlight dimly illuminated her childlike appearance.
ですが、必要な場合には助けになってほしい。そう言われていますから。そう、約束を交わしていますから。いつか、こうなることは知っていましたから。ですから約束を果たしました。
She meant to leave. That was what I felt. She would disappear just like Mare does. This was hardly the time to let confusion get the better of me. Having managed to tell that to myself, I would gradually regain composure. My throat now operated normally. I could talk. Don't go. Not yet. What did you do just now?
ちなみさんの傘を断ちました。
She replied. I could still see her. Is he gonna have, like, the fucking pendant on him? Like, she's gonna try to vanish. He's just gonna remember, wait, Naginata. Flashbang, bitch! I can still see her.
展望台の死神の言葉を借りるなら、悪夢を買ったということ。聖天宮の言葉を借りるなら、末路わぬものを繰り返したということ。私自身の言葉を使うなら、恋を裂いたということ。
I'm 100% convinced it's got to do with her and his family at this point. I didn't let a single word she said escape me. Getting mad at her for harming Chinami and lunging at her. That held no point.
君にとっての悪夢が思い出だったのと同様。君にとっての末路わぬものが展望台の彼女だったのと同様。ちなみさんにとっての自分の枷となる存在が、ちなみさん自身だった。それだけのことです。
Is there a whole fucking character gonna do a 180 now? Is their character actually going to become not annoying as fuck now? Because that sounds like a positive to me. The girl dissolved at the starlight. Sees that a girl just now. She raped Chinami. I checked back on Chinami. Pleadingly called her name. Fervently shook her shoulders. But there was no response. Not even the opening of her eyes. Her breathing, though, I could still sense. Yet she still remained unconscious. It was a repeat scenario of what happened at the lookout. Just like back then, she was only sleeping. That was what I kept telling myself. Chinami was still here. I could only put my faith in it and hope. Carrying Chinami on my back, I left the school building. I met Oso and Oscar in front of the school gate. The two of them were, of course, surprised when they saw Chinami on my back. I just wrote it off and told them she fell asleep. The test of courage was suspended. My thinking had taken on a monochromatic hue. It felt like time was moving on film strips. Parted with the other two in front of our house. Back home, I carried Chinami, still showing no signs of waking up, to her bedroom. Seeing her lying in bed like this, it really did look like she was only sleeping.
ようちゃん、今お医者様に連絡したわ。
Thanks, I'm sorry.
謝らなくていいのよ。それにお礼もいらない。今度だってようちゃんのせいじゃないんでしょ。
I couldn't muster a reply. The immediate cause was her, that girl. But maybe, just maybe, Chinami's nightmare was in fact she herself, like the girl
ちなみ
said.
ちゃんの様子はどう？
Onchino took a look at Chinami's face. I think she's just sleeping. Told myself that.
だったら心配いらないわ。明日になれば元気なちなみちゃんに会えるから。
After a while, the doctor Onchino had summoned Hisakaki, and Kosume's father showed up and examined Chinami's condition. Of course, now there was no bruise on her nape like last time, hence, well, he couldn't say. With certainty, he deemed it wasn't all likelihood just sleeping. Apparently, he would do a thorough examination at the hospital tomorrow. Similar play of events to last time, but there was a decisive difference. I still wanted to believe that she was only sleeping. Deep inside my mind, I couldn't. Maybe she wouldn't wake up anymore, I told myself. Chinami, true enough, was right here. But maybe she actually wasn't.
ようちゃん。
After midnight, Onchino came to check on things as I was staying by Chinami's
ようちゃ
bedside.
んはまだ寝ないの？
I nodded, not moving my eyes off
ちな
Chinami.
みちゃんは大丈夫よ。明日になれば。
Can't guarantee you that. The way I said that almost felt like I was taking it out on her. Regret instantly welled.
保証ならできるわ。
Her reply, however, was laced with confidence.
保証できると言ったのよ。ちなみちゃんは大丈夫。私が保証するわ。
I gulped down the howl that was about to leave my
だか
mouth.
ら、あなたは安心していいのよ。今ならわかるの。姉さんの気持ちがわかるの。理屈じゃない親としての気持ちというものが 私も少しはわかるようになったの。
I don't know why this is reminding me of a certain scene in Mask of Truth that's very much causing me feels right now. Ah! What Tokiko I think it was. That's always the issue when I'm not 100% sure. Torikori, that was it. Like the scene that firmly implanted Torikori as the fucking best, like one of the best fucking characters in the entire series. For me personally, at least.
保証なんてものは子供じゃない親がすることだと思うから、家族がすることだと思うから。私は夜中まで朝に寝ることも多いから、だからね、徹夜にだって慣れているのよ。
Shino, I faced her head on, but my gaze was still averted ever so slightly. But, you know, I do love you as a family. But when you talk about depending on you, leaning on you, all that, I just don't know how to go about doing that.
いいのよ。言ったでしょ。あなたは悪くないのよ。それに、私たちにはまだたくさん時間があるじゃない。もっと一緒にお話できる。もっと一緒にご飯が食べられる。悲しむことも笑うことも一緒にできる。一緒にお風呂だって入れるのよ。
I don't think that last one is acceptable even for family.
あらあら。
She formed an amused
そ
smile.
んなたくさんの時の中で一緒に家族を作っていきたいって思うのよ。あなたとちなみちゃんとみんなで。私は昔からよく夢見がちって言われていたけれど、これもちょっと綺麗すぎるかしら。
I guess she was smiling. The only help but wonder I managed one too. But you know, maybe that's just what we need. A bit of idealism is just what us greenhorns need to grow as a family.
ちなみちゃんの看病変わってくれる？
Yeah. I got up and went on without averting my eyes. To be honest, I don't think I'll let anyone other than you do this. Thereupon I saw a dream. I turned off the lights in my room, got into my bed, and fell right asleep, as I was probably a lot more tired than I thought. I can leave Chinami to Honshino. Maybe the relief that stemmed from that was quite large. The dream I dreamt was about my family. It was back around July when we moved away from Ibarigasaki. Coincidentally, it was also July when we returned to Ibarigasaki. I remember things were quite hectic with summer break being just around the corner back then as well. I went on summer break before properly assimilating into my new school, and having been inexperienced when it came to socializing at the time, I didn't have any friends yet. Same was true for Chinami. She was a prodigy at making friends right now, though I didn't know if she herself would call it that. But when she was a kid, you couldn't even see a glimpse of that yet. She was a complete introvert, like Suzuha. And part of the reason why she was always so caring to Suzuha was because she saw her old self in her. Of course, just like now, she would always try to help with housework and cause disaster in the process. A part of her, at least, had always been the same. But she entered a rebellious phase and thus stopped helping out with housework. That was, in a sense, the most peaceful time of my life. I think it was something that happened during the first summer break of our new school that heralded the end of that peaceful, rebellious phase. Chinami-Route began to make her own music box. Still without any playmates at school, Chinami needed something to occupy herself with. Yeah, that was what Mom thought. She was the one who passed Chinami, who was all by herself a score. When she told her to try and craft a music box using... Then she told her to try and craft a music box using that score. Her mom had intended to help her out too, but as Chinami was still in the middle of a rebellious phase, she wouldn't have it and insisted she could do it by herself. It may have been strange that she decided to listen to our mom's suggestion and make the music box in the first place, but I'd say it was more than likely because she was told the song was composed by her father, whom she never got a chance to know. After receiving the score plus a kit for making a music box, she secluded herself inside her room and worked on it fervently. It seemed like she was experiencing difficulties. Chinami had never been very dexterous. All the proof what one would need was how she'd only make blunders after blunder when trying to do housework. Anyway, having secluded herself inside her room, she wouldn't come out no matter what. She would essentially only come out when it was time to eat. I remember wondering just how long it was going to take her to finish that stupid thing. Eventually, unable to bear remaining idle any longer, I went inside her room without asking. She was naturally surprised by my sudden appearance, both surprised and angry. "Get out!" she screamed at me. "Not happening," I remember replying to her, which prompted her to ask me why, on which I told her, "Shut up. I hate you," she then spat. I almost replied back with the same, but I managed to instead say, "I love you." Chinami said nothing back. What came after, neither of us said a word to each other. I just silently helped her while she was working on the music box. And that was the story of how the paper music box that played the piece Chinami's father left her was completed. Though it was strange, I never knew why she was so dedicated to finishing it. Out of a yearning for her father? I couldn't bring myself to believe it was only that. Apparently music composition had been her father's hobby, even back when he was in school. A year he'd been playing piano since a young age, and that was what sparked him to take up composing. That was the man my mom dated during her high school years. Both of them students at Ibari High. However, they broke up before graduating. I've been told that my own father, Mishima Taiga, was the man Mom got together with after that. Why does that sound like a fucking Tekken character that's part of the Mishima Zaibatsu? Is he strapped to a rocket right now? Is what I'm asking. I don't even play Tekken and I know about those jokes. They had a child together, me, and she broke up with my dad and got back together with Chinami's dad. I hadn't been told much about it beyond just that. So they are from different fathers, okay. Hold on, let me just let me just check. Ooh, they didn't update it yet. Okay. At the time she gave birth to her child with him. I was not even 2 years old. Now I had a little sister, a half-sister. From the standpoint of society, what Mom did is generally frowned upon. Because the point her parents and relatives were less than pleased at her having children with two different men. It was mainly why Mom left her home. Now with two children, Chinami and myself, she decided to bring us up by herself. Chinami's father had passed away by that time. His death was not an unforeseen one. He'd known he would live a short life, even well back when he was still at Ibari High dating Mom. Okay, yeah. Now the timeline makes sense. The timeline makes sense. So the theory that I was considering earlier was 100% fucking correct, basically. Except the whole contumacious existence thing that he is. That one doesn't currently make very much sense. But the bit about her father being the person from the rumors, I guess I mainly discard that, like, did away with it because I expected, okay, she's just gotta like die soon after, but no, he lived on like at least a few more years. Chinami doesn't visit her father's gravesite. I can imagine he wasn't exactly fond of him. But at the same time, that also meant disregarding Mom's feelings. She had truly loved Chinami's father from the bottom of her heart. The fact that she'd kept on to his score all those years, treasuring it, was the best proof of that. So maybe thinking of him as the person her mom loved, Chinami too tried to find affection for him. Maybe her making that music box was an expression of that desire. After summer break ended, Chinami turned the music box in at school. Her teacher was impressed and showered her in praise, thus changing Chinami. Her rebellious phase had met its end. In its place came a girl that could make 100 friends no sweat. So, would that mean Chinami matured? Was the rebellious phase ending the trigger which caused her to be able to make friends so easily? And to begin with, why even did she have that rebellious phase? Did she still refuse to visit her father's gravesite despite long since passing? Why did she still refuse to visit her father's gravesite despite long since passing out of her rebellious phase? Now that our mom had passed and we'd come back to Barigasaki, she was more eager than ever to take care of me. Why was that? But maybe the most important clue was that what she said at the time.
ちなみはいらない子供だったの?
Everything seemed to come into place. This weighted, tangled mess of threads. But by following that thread, I could reach the answer. I could see it. I understand your feelings now, Chinami. That's just one thing I want you to know. Even if I'd never learned your true feelings, I would have been happy. I would have been there. You've always been there for me. Couldn't have been more blessed. After all, your cheerfulness has saved me many times over. And that was why I swore. When we finished the music box, Chinami cried. Those weren't tears of joy. Then as a kid, I could clearly tell. And that was why I swore. I swore to myself that I would never make her cry. I swore I would never let my precious little sister shed tears like that ever again. Man!
ちなみさん。
Man, that sure is a lot! That sure is a lot! Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one and see you next time. Bye-bye. What the fuck was any of that? Help.